what's up, anime fans? It's your boy, Raysean from the Raysean Gadson Anime Podcast, or RGAP for short. And on today's episode, we're interviewing a special guest, learning more about your favorite anime characters and the industry of voice acting as a whole, and also about their personal lives while diving into some interesting anime discussions. If that sounds interesting to you, then sit back and enjoy the ride. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're watching. Before we get started, I just want to allow my guest the opportunity to introduce themselves, basically tell everybody who you are, where you're from, what you do, and also tell us your favorite animated TV show or movie and why.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on. My name is Henry Thurlow. I'm originally from America, New York, but for the last 16 plus years, I've been living in Japan, working on anime. So, yeah, that's basically what I do. That's the super short version of it. The little bit longer version of it is I came to Japan 16 years ago. I did work as an animator in the States before that, a little bit. I worked on like Super Jail, like that Adult Swim show, if anyone remembers. Okay. And then, but then I came out to Japan, eventually cracked into the anime industry. At the bottom, I was doing in between animation for a while, and then just kind of gradually worked myself through the system. And now I've done keyframe animation, storyboards. A few times I've had the opportunity to direct. I guess my claim to fame at the moment is probably still One Piece episode 1066. I got to direct that. Also, last year I directed the Four Nights of the Apocalypse season 2 opening. So if anyone liked that opening sequence, that was me. And for the last year or so, I haven't not too many things that I've worked on have actually came out. The only thing that came out this year was I finally got to work with a famous director that I've been a fan of for a long time, Takeshi Koike, who made Redline. This year, he came out with the conclusion to his Lupin the Third series, and I helped do some animation for that final movie. I don't think that's actually viewable anywhere outside of Japan really yet. Maybe they've had some specialty screenings, but I don't think it's on the streaming services yet. But maybe that'll be out soon. But yeah, I've been working on a whole bunch of secret projects, and I don't even know when they'll come out exactly. Probably next year. This year is a lot of work. Next year, hopefully, a lot of releases.
Oh, for sure. When some of them come out, you're gonna definitely have to hit me up so I can be like, okay, this is something he worked on. Yeah. But what would you say is your favorite animated TV show or movie?
Man, that's so hard because I kind of, Guillermo del Toro said this, I think, but the anime or animation is a medium, not a genre, right? So, I guess you can ask people what's your favorite movie, but it's hard because they, narrowing it down to what's your favorite horror movie, what's your favorite action movie is a little bit easier. Animation's so broad, it's hard for me to put a comedy in the same section that I might put a Satoshi Kon film that's a gorgeous, gorgeously constructed, very serious drama, because my mind goes to that. My mind goes to maybe it's One Piece because I'm a huge One Piece fan. I've always been a huge One Piece fan. Getting to work on it was a dream of mine. But then again, I'm a little hesitant to say One Piece because then when I think of some of the more artistic films that kind of got me into anime or just were extremely significant in my life, Tekken Concrete, all of the Satoshi Kon films, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. What originally got me into anime wasn't really the long shonen series like One Piece or even Dragon Ball. It was kind of the shorter OVA kind of things that were coming out in the 80s and 90s. Ghost in the Shell, Akira, that kind of stuff. So it's hard for me to pick one because comparing Akira to One Piece just feels like two completely different things.
I feel you. So what I was going to say is what would you say when you watched it really surprised you with this animation? Like you were surprised that animation got this far? And this can be from any like time period or like when you were like, wow,
I
okay.
guess the art form continues to surprise me. Not every time I watch it. There's way more series and movies and things that disappoint me or I don't think are impressive in one way or another. But when something comes out that really impresses me, it always brings me back to the same kind of original feeling that I had back in the day when I first became a fan. The really early days, it was like OVAs like Yoma and Genocyber, and when I watched those, I was just like, "Oh my god, what is this? This is so crazy!
Okay.
I'm just inspired by this. This is madness." Like I thought cartoons were just for kids or whatever, because in America, that's all it was, Saturday morning cartoons. And then you see this stuff, and I was just deeply inspired. Years later, again, I saw Tech on Concrete, deeply inspired. Years later, I saw Redline, deeply inspired. Recently, it's harder for me to kind of enjoy anime as a fan now, now that I work on it. But a few rare ones kind of break through, and I'm like, this is so well directed, this is so unique that even though I know how the sausage is made behind the scenes, somehow this work of art is so great it transcends all of that, and I go back to being a fanboy. The one name that kind of pops out to me when I think recently, like what's really impressed me in the last few years, I would say Made in Abyss. For me personally,
Okay.
Made in Abyss is like really good. I like those kind of adventure series, especially if it's got like monsters and like fantasy kind of elements like that. And so, and I like the stuff that's more mature, to be honest, because that's what got me into anime, the Akira and the Ghost in the Shell, that kind of stuff. So as much as I like, the PG-13 shonen series, and that's probably what I work on more than anything else. To be honest, whenever it's like a mature series that's somehow really high quality, I'm always impressed by that. So Made in Abyss like scratches my exact itch of kind of stuff that I like.
Okay. I hear you brought up directing a lot. And a lot of times when I talk to a lot of different voice actors and stuff and they've done directing, it's more or less like casting directing and directing like that. So when you bring up directing, is it in that sense, or are you actually like directing the anime and the episode?
Yeah, no, directing the episode. So there's two different words in Japanese that mean director. One is kantoku and then one is enshutsu. And those can kind of mean different things depending on the project, even because what a kantoku does on a movie is a little bit different than what they do on a TV series. But for all intents and purposes, when it comes to TV series, the kantoku, the head series director, is the person that kind of overlooks the entire production, and it's like, okay, we're going to make sure that this story arc is 3 episodes, this story arc is 4 episodes, this is when a new opening and ending is going to be introduced, etc., right? Like they're the overarching kind of leader of the show. But then when it comes to individual episodes, usually they don't have time to do it themselves. So they kick it over to an episode director. And the episode directors, in my experience in anime, have quite a lot of freedom. It might change by studio a little bit, because I've heard some studios don't give you as much freedom as others. But in my experience, luckily, the episode directors are basically told, you're in charge of this, right? So Henry, you're in charge of the opening for Four Nights of the Apocalypse, or Henry, you're in charge of this One Piece episode. After that's handed off to me, in my experience, I have like outrageous levels of freedom that don't even exist really in the Western industry. Like I would never have as much freedom there as I did on those projects I just mentioned. Now it would in the West it would always go to producers. So like I would storyboard, but then even if I was the quote unquote director, there would still be a dozen people that need to confirm that this is actually what we want to produce. That's kind of not my experience here in Japan. the anime industry has its own issues here, here and there, and but like artistic freedom isn't one of them. The artists really kind of are in charge, and so if I storyboard something, and I say it's going to have this many sequences, this is how the sequences are going to flow together, like it's all good. I might have like one main producer to confirm it with, but the producers really respect the artists here anyway, so they don't even really push back. Like if something's legitimately wrong, oh, this character isn't showing up in this season, so you should probably not include that in the opening. If it's some kind of comment like that, maybe I might get it, but like only big broad things like that. Everything else, it's totally up to me. I storyboard from scratch, and then like what I envisioned is what we make. I haven't done that a ton of times. Again, only a handful of times so far. I'm doing another thing right now that I can't talk about, but hopefully in the future I do that job more. I mean, my primary job is an animator, like so I've animated on a ton of stuff, but yeah, the directing, which I've been doing recently, is really uniquely fun and uniquely kind of freeing as an artist.
Okay, so you're basically crafting the whole episode and like the fights and what's happening in that episode.
Yes, like for the One Piece episode that I did, yeah, I knew what content from the manga I had to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
That was all explained to me in a production meeting, so I couldn't like just throw in random characters that weren't supposed to show up in the story. So I had to follow what was happening, but then where the camera angles were, how many sequences were throughout the episode, what the fight choreography was, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that was all me and the animators who I contacted and talked one-on-one with about how we should approach it. Yeah.
See, that seems like really fun. And when I think of directing, that's what I always thought of. And a lot of times when I talk to voice actors, they're more or less casting like the voices in there. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's different than what I'm thinking. And this is more or less something I would like to do, but it's like something I probably wouldn't be able to do because I'm not like a drawer, animator, or anything like that. But I would love to be like, okay, this is how I think this will be able to go, the choreography and stuff like that. That seems pretty interesting.
It's super rare. Like outside of this industry, I don't even know where you'd find it. Again, like if I was working on network shows now, I wouldn't have the same freedom at all whatsoever.
Is that something you had to go to Japan to get to basically to do?
Well, this industry is just very, very unique. So you have to know what you're getting into if you really want to come out to Japan and work in anime, because there's a whole lot of positives, so far I've said a bunch of them. Wow, look at all that artistic freedom. On the flip side of that, I didn't say anyone's paid that well. I didn't say I didn't say it wasn't outrageously hard work, to try to make stuff.
Is it harder because you're an American to kind of get in there, or is that not?
Maybe it's a little difficult at the very, very initial beginning, because I mean, nowadays it's not even as difficult as it was when I first got in, because a lot of production managers on the different anime are willing to contact people online and even via social media, Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. So you can take on freelance work now without that many barriers between you and actually getting the work. Not even the language barrier isn't that much of a big deal anymore, because they have like translation software and things. Sure. Or there's at least one production manager in each studio that speaks enough English that they can send an English email. But cracking in for me was a bit difficult. But once I was in, to be honest, I don't think I was ever treated any differently. So even that's been a very good experience. Look, this industry isn't for everyone, but it certainly is for me. Like I really enjoy being here and I enjoy what I do. So I can take the tough aspects of the industry and kind of just shrug them off because I like the positive aspects so much.
Okay. Before we jump into talking about what we've recently been watching and stuff, I just want to go ahead and say what my favorite animated TV show is. And I had to just I just had to go with Demon Slayer because I feel like Demon Slayer is the anime that literally pushed every other anime to say, you know what, we need to actually get our animation up to game because this is what fights can look like and we can really get it to that level. I want to say One Punch Man kind of started it off at first because that first season was beautiful. But I feel like Demon Slayer has just kept it like from the first season to the second season to now they all like the rest of this is going to be on movies. Like I think they just brought the scale up so high.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Oh, that's interesting. Why? I gotta hear this.
Well, just it's not that I dislike any of those shows that you mentioned. I think One Punch Man season 1 is amazing, and I think that Demon Slayer is actually like I think there's a lot of haters online who are fans of other shows. Like if you're a One Piece fan, you're into One Piece, and then you hate Demon Slayer. That's not the case for me. Like I watch whenever new Demon Slayer comes out, whenever a new movie comes out. Like I'm there opening weekend. Like I'm super curious to see how it's progressing and how the animation looks and everything. I just think that, I mean, I guess I'm finally showing my age, right? Like I guess I'm just becoming like an older person maybe, but it's like when I see One Punch Man and I see, well, One Punch Man less so, I guess, but Demon Slayer in particular, like I have seen everything Demon Slayer has to offer in other anime. Like and it's not that Demon Slayer is copying that stuff. They're putting their own twist on it. But like I mentioned at the beginning of this, one of the OVAs that I used to love and got me into anime was an OVA called Yoma, right? 1989, 2 episodes. I love it. I love the art style, everything. Now it's not a crazy Sakuga fest with like crazy fight scenes and spinning cameras. Nothing was like that in 1989 except for Akira. But it was like ninjas versus undead demons, and there was like a spider demon clan and et cetera, et cetera. And it's like I've seen that before. I've seen samurai type characters fighting demon spider clans, and when you go down the list of every single bit of imagery in Demon Slayer, like, oh, this is obviously from Bleach. Oh, this is obviously from this other anime. Oh, this one character's power is obviously the exact same power from this other anime. And like I could just, so Demon Slayer I think puts everything together really well. And the studio offers probably the best compositing in the entire industry. That is to say, the lighting effects over the scene. So there's no character that ever feels like a flat color. There's lighting effects hitting it from all different angles. So there's gradations and different like color palettes and different lighting effects constantly hitting from all angles. So it feels very, very theatrical. UFO Dave probably is the best when it comes to compositing in the industry. But I don't know, like I just feel like I've seen a lot of it before. Plus, when I hear it has best animation, that's where I take a step back and I'm like, does it though? Does it though? Because think about this. Like, there's no way it has better animation than a Satoshi Kon film or Redline. Like, there's no way you could even be saying that, right? Not that. Not Satoshi Kon. Not Akira, literally a Katsuhiro Otomo film. Like, so
I think when I say that, I'm more or less comparing it to other anime. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're comparing it to the other anime TV series. So, okay, Dragon Ball, One Piece, Bleach, Naruto. But even then, if it's just strictly 2D animation, I think the very, very best moments of Naruto have beaten any of the best moments of Demon Slayer. If I
Wow.
thought
Okay, that's
if I thought of
interesting.
the absolute peaks of Naruto, Gaara versus Rock Lee, the
Okay, can I ask you another question?
Naruto
Are you
versus
looking at this
Sasuke.
from a
Yeah.
storyline, or are you looking at this from an animation point of view?
Well, both, right? Because if I look at it from an animation point of view, I still think it's beat by all of the theatrical films I mentioned, plus individual episodes of random shows. So, like the absolute best peak episodes, 5 episodes or so of Naruto, I don't think Demon Slayer has ever hit. So, from an animation standpoint, it's already not winning. and then from a story standpoint, I think again, like it I think it puts all cool anime elements together really well, but I haven't seen any like shocking levels of originality in it.
Okay, I see. I think I
Let's
can
put
see.
it this way. I'm 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 just now watching uh Black Clover, right? I've avoided Black Clover. It never seemed appealing to me necessarily. I just thought it was another long shonen show, and I just never got into it when it first came out. And when I saw the character designs, I was like, like it's fine, but I don't feel the need to watch this. But for whatever reason, recently I was like, okay, I'm just gonna check this show out, right?
What are you gonna say? What I think you have to say?
well, like, so the whole many episodes pass, and it's, let's say, mid, right? The storytelling, the animation quality, it's either bad or mid, and it's like it's fine, it's kind of fun. But recently I just hit episode 100, and all the episodes in the 90s leading up to 100 were crazy. Like that 100 was an awesome peak. I was like, yes, this is why I stuck with it, because those long shonen shows always have some crazy moment that eventually shows up. And I was just waiting for it. I was like, come on, this show's got to have that moment too somewhere, right? Episode 70 hits and I'm still not seeing it. 80 hits, I'm still not seeing it. I'm like, no, it has to be here somewhere. I'm going to keep watching. So episode 100 was just nuts. And fans online will go crazy when I say this, but look, Demon Slayer has top-notch animation and compositing and everything like that from the beginning all the way through. Black Clover can't compare to it whatsoever, 0%, right? But when it comes to the highest high point, the peaks, I don't think there's a point in Demon Slayer that ever hit that episode 100 of Black Clover. I think that's what Demon Slayer is missing. Gigantic peaks that just make me go, oh my God, this storytelling and this shocking twist of something I didn't expect. Oh my God, this is art right here. It like I think it's a good series. It's a solid series. I'm enjoying it. I'm not a hater. When the next movie comes out, I'm gonna run out opening weekend here in Japan and check it out. But I don't get people saying Demon Slayer is the best anime ever. That's just my opinion.
Oh, I wasn't saying it was the best anime ever. I was just saying it was the best anime.
No, it's not just you. It's not just you. I mean,
Okay.
it's right now it's outselling everything in the history of the world. And so, like, obviously that's the opinion of a lot of people. And I'm happy that anime is selling well and doing super popular too. So again, I'm not a hater of Demon Slayer. Power to Demon Slayer. But when I legitimately critique it, I'm just a little surprised that that's the anime that broke through and is considered the greatest, for so many people.
Well, then I got another question, because it's kind of talking about what we recently watched and stuff like that. What would you think? What's your opinions about My Hero? Because I would say My Hero is like, I would consider next, and like animation has been great, storytelling has been good, and stuff like that.
I'm anime only with with pretty much all of these. And that's also the case with My Hero Academia. And I watched it the whole time it was coming out. And I thought it was super, super inconsistent, if I'm being honest. Like there would be moments, maybe sets of episodes where I'd be like, wow, this is really cool. Wow, they have a really interesting character here. I wonder where this story arc is going. And then it might even end really well with like a pretty peak episode, you know? But then all of a sudden, right after that, they're like, okay, and now we're going back to like a random training tournament for 24 episodes. And I'm like, like what is with like the flow of this show? Like usually like it builds, you know, it builds like Black Clover right now is building, you know, and to be fair with Demon Slayer also, like it's building towards obviously a final confrontation with all of this one group, you know, of bad guys. But My Hero Academia, it was just like this. I was like, I literally have no idea at any point in time what they're going to be doing 5 episodes from where I'm watching, right? Like it might be leading up to some big climax, or it might be actually we're going on a school trip this week.
Yeah. I mean, they've had a lot of moments like that, and that's why it'd be some seasons where it feel like, okay, it slowed down, because it'd be like the majority of the first part of the season. That's when they had the big fight and everything and stuff. I will
say this though, this last season I'm watching.
It was amazing.
It comes out, and I am very happy that it seems they're really like nailing each of these final episodes. These final ones, each week, I'm constantly impressed, very, very impressed.
Oh yeah, I mean we're in the final arc, you know what I mean? This gotta be, if you're not gonna put out your best episodes anytime throughout the whole series, you gotta do it in the final, you know what I mean?
I of course agree with you, but with the way anime production works nowadays, there's a lot of disappointments out there. So I definitely didn't know what was gonna happen, but it seems like Bones really is, you know, pulling out all the stops and making sure each episode is really good. So
that's funny you say like disappointments, because I've only had like 2 real disappointments, and I've only one that's been recent, but I haven't even tried to watch it yet to see how bad it is. It's the One Punch Man. I know you probably heard a lot about that, and I actually feel bad because I read something on Instagram that they made the director or the creator like turn his Twitter off and stuff just by the comments and everything. But also Blue Lock, that was my other one. I thought they could have did better in that season 2, but I do like that they wrapped it. They did come together for those last few episodes and finished off strong. But I just felt like for an anime that was like anticipated, you would have been like, oh, we got to do this. But I can feel like timing and stuff. I heard a lot of that had to do with that.
Back in the day, a lot of anime, to be honest, disappointed, not in the sense that it like really fell off quality wise, but they didn't continue it. Like tons of those OVAs that I was mentioning that I liked so much, unfortunately, as much as I liked them, a bunch of them would go like 3 episodes. They were then to be continued, and then they never made the 4th. Because like they were planning on 10 or something, but then it didn't sell as well, and so that's all you get. And then TV series would do similar things. Shigurui is one of my favorite manga. I ended up reading that manga. That manga is crazy good. Like everyone should read that if they're into like the kind of hard gore, samurai gore. If that description sounds appealing to you, definitely check out Shigurui. But so there was a Shigurui TV series in the early aughts, and it was good. It was cool. Madhouse also made that One Punch Man season 1 studio, Madhouse. And it was good, but then it just ended. Like here's season 1, which is the first third of the manga. And then I'm like, all right, let's get to and like the midpoint of the manga, which is like the scene that would happen right after season 1 ended, and then the finale are the 2 best points, in my opinion, of the whole manga, right? Like gigantic peaks, like some of the coolest scenes I've ever seen. And so I'm like, okay, so where's season 2? Because we're about to get to that awesome stuff. Never came. 12 episode season, never a season 2. So anime has disappointed me through the years in different ways, sometimes quality wise, sometimes just not continuing wise. But I guess, yeah, in hindsight, I almost feel there was more disappointments than like things that really knocked it out of the park from start to finish. There might have been a bunch that had like an amazing first couple episodes or first season, but then it either didn't continue or it fell off or et cetera, et cetera. The anime that really truly kept being amazing all the way through, very rare, I think, which is another reason why I kind of like Made in Abyss, because so far, just even though the production schedule seems like very long, like in between seasons, when they come back, it's never dropped at all. Like from the very first episode of the first season through the movie, through the second season, like it's all like 100% consistent, which I like.
Okay,
I wonder if they keep that up all the way through. That would be cool.
I would say One Piece storytelling wise has kept up. They've kept good on their storytelling. Animation wise, well, we've known they've changed the animation like 2 or 3 times. Like, so
One Piece is one. Look, see, people say I'm biased, but the One Piece is the best.
Okay.
No, it is. It just is. And literally anyone that reads One Piece or watches One Piece through, but literally to a person, everyone that gets through it, because I get it's daunting, and I get even the original feeling of I disagree with this. I'm not saying I agree with this, but I get the feeling of, look at these characters, they're so cartoony. Most anime, the character designs are a bit cooler. Look at Bleach, they're like awesome, like, you know, death gods, and then Naruto, they're like different ninjas, and some of them might be goofy ninjas, but then there's also awesome ninjas. And then One Piece is like cartoon characters, right? Like outright cartoony characters. A dog with like a big tongue sticking out, you know. And so when you're facing 1,000 episodes and character designs at the very beginning, where you're like, well, this looks goofy, and I'm not interested in watching 1,000 episodes of Goofy. I get it, but anyone who has watched and stuck with it, literally everyone that, let's say, watched through Marineford, everyone is like, oh, this is the best series. Obviously this is the best series ever made, because the storytelling is just off the charts. Like there's nothing that even compares to it. I mean, I can compare it to like anime of totally different genres, like what's, again, like I said earlier, what's better, One Piece or Akira? I don't want to compare those two, because one is like a much shorter story and just like ultimately high quality of art, right? Like it's like as high quality of like an artistic film that you can possibly make. I don't think One Piece just shouldn't even be going up against that. But when you're talking about these long shonen series, there's just nothing that competes with One Piece. And even quality wise, look, it goes up and down. I'm not going to deny that, but it constantly comes back up for peaks. It evolves, but it also constantly came back up for peaks during the climaxes. Like, I don't think you can point to a single saga where it's like, even the last 2 episodes of the final battle were just terribly directed, uninteresting episodes. Like that never happened. Every time it needed to be, Koei rallied and made sure it was an awesome episode or set of episodes that delivered. And then then we start another saga that's going to be 110 episodes, and for the first 30 of those episodes, it's very, very like middling quality. But once those climactic battles happen at the end of the saga, it's going to go right back up, and it's done that the whole time. And then since Wano, I think it's
killing it.
Yeah, then they've been killing it.
I just think that's because all animation right now that's been coming out has been top tier animation wise. So it's like, why not compete? And for One Piece to be one of the longest running, to still be one of the top 3 like every week, and animation wise it just shows like as long as you're able to adapt to what's coming out there, because this is how I kind of wish Dragon Ball would be, but I know they got a lot of stuff going on with why it's not back out yet. But storytelling wise, One Piece kills it. I always say that, but for me, like
I mean, look, nostalgia is also kind of a hell of a thing. Yeah. And so like there's old stuff that I think back on, and like I don't want to say One Piece is necessarily better than it, because like it came before One Piece existed, and in its own way it's also just completely peak, right? Like I'll go as far back as Fist of the North Star, Hokuto no Ken, with that. I don't want to say necessarily like, oh, One Piece crushes, Hokuto no Ken. No, like Hokuto no Ken was like the 80s. That was the age, like the future that Hokuto no Ken was imagining was like the year 2000. 20 years in the future. So it's like just such a unique case. Like I don't really want to, even in my mind, be like which is better, which one beats which. And the same goes for Dragon Ball Z. For me, the same would also go for Rurouni Kenshin, because that was like really important to me as like an early anime fan. Yu Yu Hakusho, Hunter Hunter, especially the first Hunter Hunter series, because I got into it 100% with the first series, right?
Oh, like, see, I've only watched the second series. I've never watched the first.
I 100% got into it many years before that second series ever came out. And so anyway, yeah, like I'm not gonna say, Dragon Ball Z loses to One Piece just because Dragon Ball Z is like the godfather. Hokuto no Ken would even be the grandfather, right? And so I don't see them butting heads. I see them from different generations, kind of.
For sure.
Yeah. Because Dragon Ball Z is still peak in certain ways, like the like Majin Vegeta getting born, the first introduction of kind of Frieza, the first time you experienced that, like that was like the best written introduction to a character that is just unbeatable ever. Like they land on this planet and then they give you a whole bunch of episodes of setup to exactly what's happening on this planet and who this character Frieza is before any fight happens. And you're just like, this guy is invincible. Like there's nothing that could ever stop this guy, because it was great storytelling to just hype up this villain. So you're just like, there's nothing that like I hope the main cast of characters just run away, because it's impossible to even imagine anyone could do anything against this Frieza character. But then the whole Super Saiyan scene happens, and then it looks like he's leveled up to the point where maybe he can beat Frieza's ass. And it's just, that was every series after that, including One Piece, has Dragon Ball to
elements.
Yeah, for having done that in the first place, to inspire them to make their own really badass villains that are difficult to defeat, etc.
And like badass out of nowhere transformations and stuff like that. Like, but I would just say the build up, like you were saying, for that whole Frieza thing, it was amazing, because I mean, you literally get Goku using Kaioken to like his maximum. They get to the point where they use the spirit bomb. You think, okay, this is the biggest spirit bomb we ever seen. This is gonna be Frieza. Doesn't do anything, barely scratches Frieza. So then you're like, what the fuck? Then he comes back and kills everybody, and then like you're like, oh my god, now Goku's alone and he's beaten up, and then like and then that's when you get the transformation. Then like
they built Frieza up with other characters too, which was genius, and every series has copied since then. So Frieza has 2 henchmen next to him, and then and those henchmen alone are strong enough to basically beat everyone in the series, right? Like Piccolo shows up, and even like
Yeah, I mean, this starts even from the beginning with Raditz and Vegeta and Nappa. When they come, they all
But
from
the point
Frieza.
is, okay, so his henchmen are there, and then the Ginyu Force shows up, and like just to defeat these guys is almost impossible, right?
Yeah.
To defeat these guys is almost impossible. And these guys are all so scared of Frieza that they bow down to him, like shaking, right? And so that was just such good storytelling to build up this just absolute invincible villain, you know?
Before we kind of get into any more of our questions, I just want to ask you, like, what have you recently been watching, like movie wise and stuff like that, that you've been like, okay, this is really good, that you will recommend, like on Netflix or anything? It doesn't have to be like, oh, this animation, but just storytelling wise, or this is a good TV show that I'm watching right now.
Recently, I haven't been watching so much because I've been working, and even Black Clover, like when I'm watching that, it's kind of at work, like
Oh,
we're here in the corner. Like I haven't had too much time to like just sit down and just watch shows like I used to.
you play any video games?
Video games, yes. Every now and then but only like even finding time for those is hard, but I always find time to make sure I play the new Zelda games and the new Final Fantasy games whenever they come out, and usually
Okay.
Pokemon games. Like those three franchises are like the games that I always make sure to play. So recently, although I did actually recently find time to play the new Silent Hill. That was super rare. I haven't played a Silent Hill since Silent Hill 3, like way back in the day.
I just recently watched the movies for them, and they're pretty good.
It was pretty good. I don't know.
I never played the game, so maybe
Yeah.
I don't have that perspective.
Yeah. Zelda and Final Fantasy games, you can't go wrong. Anyone that's not into either of those franchises, you should get into those franchises because you're just never going to go wrong with them. You'll always be happy.
For sure. I haven't played a Zelda game or like a Nintendo game in a while. I played the most recent Mario game,
Mhm.
but yeah. But otherwise, other than that, TV shows that I've recently been watching, I've tried out the new King of the Hill series. Thought that was pretty interesting. Some of the different choices they made from the original King of the Hill, because I love the original King of the Hill. I think it's very funny, especially some of the things that happen in there. But the newest season is pretty good too. My Hero, I've just been talking about that. But when I wrote this, I was more or less talking about the season before this new season that came out. But this new season has been pretty good too. I think it's been killing it, especially the fact that they brought Bakugo back, man, because I was kind of heartbroken when we seen them last season and he looked like he was almost out for the count. And I'm like, oh man. And also Bleach. I think Bleach has been amazing, especially this new 1,000-Year Blood War arc. Only thing I'm angry about is the fact that they were very consistently keeping it going like every year right around this winter time. And then for the final part, they're like, no, we need more time. So now we got to wait like almost a little bit more of a year to get it, which makes me a little bit sad, but I'm also happy because, I mean,
you don't want any bad episodes coming out, right? You'd rather wait and then the whole season looks good rather than the second half of the season all of a sudden drops off, right? So
yes, that's why
give them time, give them the time they need.
It hurts, but it's like I'd rather it look beautiful because but that has to be it though, because you can't make us wait and then it come back and then they were like, what happened? Why do we wait? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But before we kind of jump into that, I just want to jump right into our interview. And my first question I kind of wanted to ask you is basically, what kind of made you want to be an animator, and when did you decide that you wanted to work on anime specifically?
Forever. I always wanted to be an artist, literally always since elementary school. And I eventually studied animation. I went to the now no longer existing DCAD, Delaware College of Art and Design. I'm from New York, but I went down there. But that went out of business like a couple of years ago. Or like a year or so ago. Can't believe it. My freaking college. But then I also went to Pratt Institute. And when I was studying, I was like, I wasn't expecting to move to Japan. I was like, I'm sure I'll find cool animation jobs in the States. Anime is getting more and more popular. Dragon Ball Z is super popular. I'm sure eventually we'll make our own cool series and shows and things like that. Once I got into the industry, I kind of realized, oh, that's definitely not happening. Only really Japan makes this kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
There might be certain super rare exceptions, and Korea might come out with an interesting movie or series. Recently, now America finally made one with Castlevania, I think. So America has an example finally. But generally speaking, you want to make that cool anime stuff, you have to come out to Japan. It's the only country really making it. So that's what I did. I was just like, I'm just going to go to the country that's making the stuff I want to make, see what happens. Yeah, and then cracked in and started finally working on that stuff. I guess I got into anime though. I always tell this story, but for anyone who hasn't heard it, originally the first like cool adult kind of show that I got into was Spawn in the
Okay.
in the 90s. Like when I was way too young. I was in like 5th grade or 6th grade maybe when that came out. And that was super rated R, right? But I was watching that and I was like, oh my God, this like super hyper violent, like curse filled, like animation, like is so awesome. I got into the Spawn series and started buying the comics thanks to the animated show. And I was like, man, this is so cool. Okay, I need to see more of this. But in America, like there was no more of that. Spawn was super unique. And so if you wanted anything similar to that at all, the very next thing is anime, right? So then I would go to the video store, Blockbuster or wherever, and see the anime section and be like, well, this is basically right, like what Spawn was, because these are also usually, I mean, people today might not realize it, but back in those video stores, they didn't have Dragon Ball Z and any kind of long series VHS there. The only things that were licensed for America were like probably cheap to license rare OVAs, right? So all that, like, and all of those things were like either rated R or X, to be quite honest. And so like when you went to the video store, like that's all it was. It was like rare, quite adult content in anime form. And so, but I rented all of them. I was like, this is awesome. This is crazy. I can't believe they're doing all this nuts stuff in cartoons. And so I still thought we'll eventually make this in America originally when I was studying. But in the back of my head, I knew what I really want to make is that anime kind of stuff. So my original thought was I'll get to make that in America somewhere, because I'm sure someone will produce that probably. But when I figured out that wasn't really going to happen, it was easy for me to just be like, oh, well, then I want to go to Japan to actually work on the anime, because anime was always the basis of what I thought cool cartoons were.
For sure. I'm glad you were able to actually do that, because a lot of times, like you set a goal out for it, but then it starts to seem unreachable, and then you're like, dang, is there any way for me to really get there? Then having to go to a whole nother culture, and then not knowing that, like, am I going to be accepted? Am I even going? Are they even going to want me to come in there and draw? Because I animation to me, I always say is a niche to Japan. Like we love it in American stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's still like a controlled Japanese thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to really like pull it out of it. But I mean, a lot of like other cultures have their version of anime, but to me, that's always going to be like the birthplace of anime.
Right. No, I still don't think anywhere where is really making it. I think Castlevania is a unique exception. I think there's some studios in France that are making really, really cool stuff. Not necessarily totally anime looking, but at least like they have their own lane of like taking animation very seriously and making, films that aren't just for kids. But when it comes to anime kind of stuff, yeah, I still think it is just totally Japan. Like you
Sure.
can point to very recently, maybe some Chinese movies or Korean movies or whatever, but no, if you want a Naruto series or a Dragon Ball Z series, Japan's the only one that could make one of those.
For sure. For my next question, I want to ask you is: could you basically tell us what a normal work day looks like for an animator in Japan?
It's very once you get into key animation, because the different jobs kind of require different types of schedules, but let's just say key animation. Um, Usually you have a production meeting when you take on your job, and during the production meeting, all of the sequences that you're going to have to animate are explained to you by the episode director. Uh,
Okay.
and then you have however long to animate those. So these are things you need to negotiate, and you shouldn't take jobs that are, hey, we need you to do 20 cuts. They call them cuts, one single sequence of animation, one cut of animation. So don't take 20 cuts if it's all due next Friday. Like that's too much. Like especially if it's action stuff that you
Hmm.
want to sit with a few days, per cut and make look really nice. Um, so the reason I mention all of that first is because the way your day is going to look depends on how much work you took. Did you take 10 cuts and you have 2-3 weeks to do those, a month and a half to do those? If that's the case, then and you've negotiated a good enough price so that you can live on those 10 cuts, well then, to be honest, until the deadline gets really close, your days don't need to be super stressful. You can set a start and end time and then follow that. Just make sure you're advancing every day and you've got in your mind, I'm going to hit that deadline when it comes. Uh, on the other hand, if you've taken on too much work, and it is the case that usually you either accidentally take on too much work or the studio begs you, like, oh, come on, can you take 5 more, please, because we're behind and we would really appreciate it. When you find yourself in a situation where it's like, okay, it looks like I have to hand everything in next Thursday. So that's like, less than a week away. But I think I have like 3 weeks worth of work in front of me. Well, that's where you're screwed. And now you're going to have to pull those all nighters, and you're going to have to, just be nonstop at your desk, working, working, working.
Um,
Um, it's not necessarily that the studio pointed their finger at you and said, sit at the desk and do that. It's just that, that's the situation you find yourself in. The due date is here. This is how much work is on your desk. Well, you're going to have to figure out a way to make that happen. And again, sometimes that means, oh, that's plenty of time. I'm going to go home early today. Often it is like, oh, that's a lot more work than I think I.
so is it solo work or teamwork? Because I always thought it would be like y'all were part of a team, but how you made it
Yes,
sound seems more
yes, it is part
solo.
of it. It's the whole production process is part of a team, but your role is your responsibility. So if you're the Gangamon, they call it, which is like the key animator slash layout artist, um, no, it's your responsibility to look at the storyboards and then adapt that into animation and do everything yourself. Now, by everything yourself, I don't mean all the way through color and paint and compositing. I just mean all of the layouts drawn, all of the background layouts drawn, all of the characters drawn, all of the timesheets filled out, all of the images exported properly, depending on what software you're using. Uh, and then putting all of that into a folder that's easily readable to everyone in the format that the studio expects, and then handing that in on time. Then it'll go to other members of the team. So then it'll go to, let's say, the episode director, who will double check to make sure that you animated what you were supposed to. And then when you get the okay by that person, then it'll go to the animation director, who will put corrections on top of it and really, kick up the art to like the next level, before sending it back to you to do secondary key animation, where you actually apply the different corrections that other people gave you. And then when you're done with that, you send it back to them, and then it goes on to other members of the team, like the in-between animators and the ink and paint people and the compositors and the editors. So to make the entire thing, it's a team effort. But whatever your job is, it's your responsibility. You'll get the stack on your desk, literally, if they're paper cuts, which happens often, to be honest. But recently, there's obviously way more digital sequences. So the stack of work on your desk might be figurative, and it's just a folder with a ton of files inside of it. But whatever it is, that's how much work you have to get done by the deadline that was agreed upon, and that's your responsibility. No teammate is jumping in and you can't share an animation sequence. You can't be like, I'll take the character in the front, you take the character in the back, and then it'll work. No, you have to sit and manage your whole sequence. You have to be like, this is the timing that the background character is moving. This is the timing that the foreground character is moving. This is the perspective that they're moving in. I need to do all of that, make all the notations necessary so that all of the other team members will understand that super clearly when I hand it in, and then hand it in.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Instead of like thinking that, okay, y'all can break it off like a single like scene that every person is working on a different person and stuff like that. No, it's actually one person creating the whole thing, and then he's y'all taking that from him and then working on that and enhancing the scene. That's what I'm kind of getting from that.
Yeah, basically. I mean, the people that put the compositing effects, the lighting effects, and make sure all the characters are colored and lit in the correct way, and the background section is blurry while the foreground section is more in focus. The people adding those types of compositing effects, that's a different person than the animator. So the sequence goes to them, and then it's their responsibility, right? But each person owns the sequence at the time it's in their hands.
Okay. For my next question, I want to ask you is, what do you find the hardest and rewarding part about being an animator?
I mean, for me personally, there's just no better feeling than when you finish something and then it's released and then it gets good feedback. It's like I feel like I'm a filmmaker. Like I brought something amazing into this world. I'm a part of a team that just made an incredible film or an incredible series, an incredible experience for the viewer, for the world, right? Like the hope is your art matters, means things to people, changes lives, your own life as the artist, the viewers' lives as the fans and the consumers of that. And so when you think you did a good job, you release it to the world, and then you see people reacting in the way you were hoping. It's just an unbelievable feeling. There's a ton of movies out there about making movies, and there's always the scene where then they finish and they're watching their movie at at the end, and you know they've got tears in their eyes because they're just so happy. Like, we did it, we made our art, right? And that is how it feels. It's like when I see an anime episode come out and I see my name in the credits, and it was a good episode, and I know it means something to people. There's just nothing better in life than that feeling. If you don't feel that way, then it's probably not the industry for you, because you'll never get the thrill. Like, it's not like you're in this industry for the money. So you would have to be in it for something else. And that thing for most people is the thrill of creating something. The other thing I've heard, this isn't the case with me, but some people just also do it for the thrill of the creation process. I'm a little bit less the thrill of the creation process and a little bit more the thrill of the completion process. Like, when I complete something, I suddenly feel a sense of accomplishment.
I can feel that.
But for some people, just the act of actually doing this craft is also thrill enough. But you would have to feel something like that for this to probably be the right job for you.
So what are some of the cons to it? Like, getting some of that negative feedback, or
well,
some of the dissatisfactory things?
If you
not much recognition, I know sometimes that could probably be hard.
It's just it's hard to say because I get the thrill out of it, but like, if you don't feel that, then you would
really think you would even be in it.
You would hate it day in and day out, because it is very hard. Like, I don't want to say, oh, this is so hard, that woe is me, because people point to paramedics have it harder, firemen have it harder, things like that, right? But but the fact of the matter is, it's not easy. Like, your day isn't a breeze. You have to sit down and try to figure out, how do I make this very, very, very difficult thing in a very, very, very short amount of time? You have to be very highly skilled and have honed your craft quite well. And even if you have done that, it's still outrageously difficult to hit those deadlines. So you're just in a constant state of very, very, very hard work to make this stuff. Most animators and people in this industry don't really have outside lives too much. I'm not saying you can't ever enjoy your weekend, or you can't have a spouse, or kids, or anything like that, but you probably, most people here, I don't think have many of those things, because it really is work day in and day out, and you don't know when suddenly you're going to have to go in on a weekend day, because there's no way to hit that deadline next Tuesday unless you keep working through the weekend. Like, you'll find yourself constantly in that kind of situation, and so you have to really be into it and really love this industry and what you're making. That's the only thing that's going to get you through it. If that's not how you feel, you're gonna wake up one day and be like, dude, what am I doing? I don't want to go in on a Saturday and my hand hurts from having drawn all week. Like, it's, if you don't get the thrill out of creating this stuff, it's probably all negatives, to be quite honest.
For my next question, we've kind of already talked about it, but one of my main reasons I wanted to kind of bring you on was to kind of talk about some of your work in the One Piece. Mm-hmm. How did you basically get that job, and do you remember some of the scenes you worked on, and were you happy to see fans liked them?
Yeah. By the way, if you hear something, there's like construction happening outside. So if the audio picks up on that at all. One Piece was a great experience, because I think for me, it was finally the job that I could test out my own style on. If you look at any of the keyframe animation I did in the Japanese anime industry, before that, I worked on various stuff, Overlord and Tokyo Ghoul and some Pokémon. I would have to go back. Even JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I did a little. All of the sequences, though, they were all art style wise, at least, corrected by the animation directors, and I never pushed to like really show off this is Henry's style, this is my style, because I knew I was maybe afraid that I wasn't at the level of like being a super animator where they would be like, okay, even if this is its own unique style, whatever, will allow it because it's Henry. Like I knew I wasn't at that level, or felt I wasn't at that level. So I was just trying to do the job well. This is what the storyboard asks for. This is what I'll deliver. And then I did that, and I felt happy and proud that I was in the credits of the show and everything, and I was an animator on the episode. But there was nothing super impressive for me to show from it, right? Necessarily. Kind of normal animation sequence. But on the One Piece staff, it was just such an amazing creative team, and everyone was pushing each other to like be themselves and like really go crazy with the animation. And so then I was like, well, fine, if you're giving me the go ahead, like I'll try to add some of myself to this. And then I saw that none of my own style was being taken out, right? And it was being left in all the way to the end, and I saw my style on TV. And so then the next time, on the next episode, I pushed myself even further and pushed myself even further and pushed myself even further. And so by the end of One Piece, of my time on working on the staff, like I was just willing to just go crazy whenever I wanted to. So like one of the last things I worked on before leaving the staff was episode 10, what was it, 93, and there's a flashback where Aokiji and Van Auger show up on Whole Cake Island and shoot up Cracker and the Biscuit characters. And like there's some sequences where, one sequence in particular where like Aokiji is just like ink splots, and I made like just this like wild ink animation to represent like this guy's just got outrageous aura, right? Like so much aura, like the people looking at him can't even see him almost as a person. He's just like that powerful of an entity walking through this island. And like that wasn't even in the storyboards. I was just like, I'm gonna depict it this way, I'm gonna go crazy with the animation in this way. And the being on the One Piece staff gave me the confidence to be able to do that, because they were just like, we're not going to correct it into oblivion. We're going to let it be your style all the way through. Go for it, go for it, go for it, go for it. And so, yeah, eventually that evolved into, all right, I'm just going to make crazy stuff then. And so, yeah, like the One Piece working on with the One Piece staff, it was all a really great experience, and I've taken that with me. So then even post One Piece, when I was working on other stuff, even the Lupin the Third movie, I didn't want to diverge too much from Takeshi Koike's storyboards, because I respect him so much, and I wouldn't want the style to suddenly change. But even then I was like, I'm going to rethink this storyboard. The storyboard doesn't ask for all of this motion, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I know it would look cooler that way. And it was working on One Piece that gave me the confidence to be able to do that. So I would say I evolved massively as an artist, and certainly leveled up significantly in the industry while I was working on One Piece.
Sure. Did you mainly work just in the Wano section?
Yeah, I started taking some freelance work on One Piece at the beginning of Wano, and so I was on it in various parts throughout kind of the entirety of Wano. But I really joined the staff when they got to Onigashima. And then in Onigashima, I was 100% a staff member at Toei Animation.
So you did some of the Gear 5 transformation animations and stuff like that?
I didn't do Gear 5, but I did like tons of other stuff throughout that. I did like the Akazaya all running through the hallway, black and white, slashing and dicing
Okay.
everyone. I did Jimbei during his climactic battle. He turns like all his skin turns to like the armor, and he blocks the, what is it, who's who. That was me. I did a lot of Kaido Dragon, like
Okay.
and then later on Momonosuke Dragon sequences. So yeah.
My next question, I got for my next question, I want to ask you: do you think people have any misconceptions about animation?
Depends on the person. I mean, some people are pretty knowledgeable about it, even as fans, especially nowadays. A lot of the information is being, social media is a cesspool for misinformation. But on the other hand, those who use it intelligently and actually follow the staff members and actually uh, use it carefully to see how the industry kind of insiders are working with it. I think they're actually quite knowledgeable about the production process, and that's why you see all the different fan bases now of anime talking about who the keyframe animators on different scenes are, and
Mm,
this episode director is making an episode in a couple weeks. We're looking forward to that one. Cut to 20 years ago, when, let's say, the first Full Metal Alchemist series or something was coming out. That'd be even more than 20 years ago at this point. Uh,
show you how old we are.
no one was talking about that. Like in the West, at least from my experience, like, and I think I was a big anime nerd at the time, and in the anime clubs and stuff at college and everything. And even still, you never heard anyone being like, "Oh, this episode director is coming next week. Looking forward to it." Like that just wasn't in the conversation at all. But now all the fan bases are quite knowledgeable about the anime production process, and so you do see a lot of those kind of conversations happening online. So those people are very knowledgeable, I would say, and so that's cool. On the other hand, you still have tons of misinformation, and one out of every 3 comments I see online, I still just I'm like, what? This is just all wrong information. Like, it's just unbelievable that people will post wrong information with such confidence. Like,
Yeah.
this is how it is. And I'm like, wow, none of those words are right. But you so confidently posted it.
And what makes me mad about situations like that is you have people underneath them commenting and replying
Yeah,
to
yeah,
them,
yeah,
and they
yeah.
don't ever reply to those comments. Like, that makes me like, so you can make a statement like that, but you can't like defend your statement. Like that's one thing that kills me. Okay. But winding down to our last 2 questions I want to
Okay.
ask you.
Cool.
Is there anyone that you want to thank for supporting you that has helped you get to where you're at right now?
I mean, no one who I need to like throw out a thank you to right now. I mean, there's a lot of people. Especially when I had to crack into this industry, I went to a bunch of it was pre, people getting jobs on online. So I had to go to the studio and actually do interviews in person. And
Mhm.
my Japanese was fine enough to do the interview, but not great. But that never was the problem. The problem was always the portfolio, because I had like a portfolio that had Cartoon Network stuff in it.
Yeah.
And then they were like, this isn't right. And I was like, oh, shoot, I thought maybe, my stuff being different than the other applicants might have been unique. It wasn't. They want specific things. So there were certain animators and episode directors and people who had just worked in the industry and industry adjacent out here in Japan who I met, some from Toei Animation, some from Piero, some from studios who I've never even worked with. But I met a lot of people during those years of me trying to crack in, And all of the advice I got and them looking at the portfolio I had and giving me pointers, you should leave in this drawing, but you should take out these other drawings. And also you should include a drawing of this or that. Like, I never forget that there were people that massively helped me. It's not like I just came out to Japan and then snap of the finger, I'm a genius, so therefore I cracked in the industry. It was very hard, and every bit of advice I got was really helpful. And those people didn't need to take the time out to do that. So I feel like I've met a lot of really, really nice people who helped me out a lot, and they know who they are, and I appreciate it greatly.
Sure. Okay. And for my last question, I want to ask you is basically, what goals do you still have yet to reach an animator and as a director that you still want to do?
I feel like just almost everything. I mean, I've only accomplished making essentially one anime opening and one anime episode so far. One Piece 1066 and the Four Nights of the Apocalypse opening. I'm making something cool right now, but that's just another, one thing to add on top of it. The point is, like, I want to make tons and tons of anime episodes, and I want to direct. I mean, if you wanted to get into dreams, then I could say even big. I want to direct movies. I want to make original films. I want to direct films based on series that I like. I want to, like I mentioned, I like Shigurui so much. I'm not so hot on remakes, but they never finished that series, so that's kind of like a unique exception. Like maybe they would have to remake it or continue it or whatever. Like maybe one day I can make the second half of that series. There's always things I want to create. There's a never-ending list in my mind. Oh, if that anime or if that manga ever gets adapted into anime, wouldn't it be awesome if I could have that role on that? If that series ends up ever getting to its final battle, and it seems like it's at a studio that can handle some good production values, I think I'll contact them because I would love to work on that. There's just a gigantic list of different series I want to work on, original films I want to make, etc. in my mind. And so far, I think I've just barely scratched the surface. Like I'm proud of a lot of the animation I made on One Piece in particular, but I really think the only time where I felt like totally satisfied, like awesome, I did it. I really did it this time, I think. So far has been the two times that I directed. And so in my entire life, only twice did I ever say I did a good job. So from here on out, I hope to be able to say that lots more times after making lots more things.
So do you feel like directing fulfilled you more? Being able to really explore more of your creative side? That's kind of like what I'm getting from what you're saying.
In the anime industry. It's funny because if one of the Western studios contacted me, hey, Henry, you could be the chief director on a new Cartoon Network show, I'd probably just say no, because it would be crazy. I know what I would be expect. I wouldn't have the artistic freedom, but the artistic freedom that's granted to me here as an episode director in anime, it's just a perfect sweet spot where I really, really do feel like my contributions were responsible for how the episode or the opening or whatever turned out. So
okay.
Under those conditions, I want to make a lot more stuff.
All right. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to talk about or discuss?
No, I think we hit it. I will just mention, it's funny. I've done a bunch of these in the past, but I don't think I ever kind of geeked out like I did in the first half of this and talk about what anime I really like and dislike and why. So that was kind of cool. That was kind of fun. I bet I'll get a ton of hate mail now. You said, what about Demon Slayer? You
go get some interesting takes.
And death threats.
Hopefully not no death threats. I won't let it get to that point. But
it's the internet. There's no way to avoid death threats. I've gotten death threats or threats of just crazy stuff from someone. I've only animated Sanji one time in One Piece, and that was in the One Piece Film Red movie, when he's in the library and he jumps and does this like fire kick attack on these like giant statues that came to life. And I think the scene turned out well. I think everyone thinks the scene turned out well. So that's the only time I ever animated Sanji ever, right? I've never touched the character. Someone posted a lie, like Henry's responsible for all the bad Sanji scenes or something like that. I don't even know why. Like, I wasn't even paying attention. I don't know what they said, but it like somehow all of a sudden I wake up one morning and the internet and a bunch of the internet folks are talking about how Henry's responsible for making Sanji look bad. And like, I think I sarcastically talked back to someone and I was like, I don't even remember what I did, but yeah, maybe I did and I'll do it again or just something like that. But that was enough to set them off. And they just, and so not to this day, I occasionally get emails saying, you Sanji hating mother, and I'm just like, look at this DM. Like, what is this?
That is crazy.
So it doesn't, like, yeah. There's just no avoiding it. Again, those who use the internet and social media correctly actually are able to learn a lot of cool things that past generations weren't able to. Everyone else is just a cesspool. It's just a cesspool.
Man. Yeah, I have to agree with you, especially Twitter. That's why I kind of had to get off of Twitter myself, because it's just too much. But with that, we're going to basically wrap up today's episode. I want to thank you for coming on.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
And chatting it up with me. I learned so much more about the industry of animation, and hopefully you listeners did too. Before we close out, I just want to allow my guest the opportunity to basically plug himself and tell the audience where they can find you.
Just search for my name, Henry Thurlow, and then I'll pop up on Twitter and Instagram and Blue Sky and a whole bunch of different places. The stuff I've been working on recently it hasn't come out yet, so look out for more stuff from me next year, basically. But if you get a chance, watch the Takeshi Koike Lupin the Third series. I'm sure some point soon, maybe that'll start hitting international streaming services. And yeah, the final film of that series is the most recent thing that I worked on that's coming.
For sure. So if you guys want to just hit them up and let them know how you feel about One Piece, or you want to tell them that you hate that he messed up Sanji, go ahead. I have all those links and stuff below. Or if you guys see the new Lupin movie, let them know how you feel about it. And with that, I just want to say